What is up, guys? Welcome back to you. Oh man, I messed it up. Okay, what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Isaac the Film Geek YouTube channel. Tonight we have a live spoiler discussion, and today we're just gonna go through everything fun. Also, before we start off, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter. It is at Isaac the Film Geek, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more movie talk, movie news, and everything in the wonderful world of movies. But tonight we have a special guest. He is the first timer here. It's been a long time. We've been wanting him here on the show. So give it up for Ethan.
Hey guys, my channel is the Real Chosen One. It's just a fitness channel along with all things geek, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting to see you. Now we got to go through the chats because there's already two people, which is exciting. So yeah, today we're just gonna go
Let's
through spoiler
go.
discussion. So in the comments, we're gonna make sure you drop your comments, questions, theories, and concerns here on the channel. Hold up, I got the wrong caption. So first we're gonna go through our thoughts. So we're gonna go first to my thoughts, and then the whole episode as the thoughts, but also the series as a whole. So my thoughts on the series is it's been amazing. I was one of the few people who, when I saw the first trailer, I was actually disappointed because to me it didn't look that good. But after the first episode, I was hella intrigued. The sitcom style looked great. Everything looked great. And then throughout the episodes, it kept getting better, better, and better. But episode 9, I will admit, it did leave me a little disappointed. However, it still left me satisfied. And I think that is good enough. It sets up Doctor Strange 2 in a way that I didn't expect it to do. And I'm glad that it stayed grounded instead of going all multiverses. And, even though I'm a big comic book geek and I would love that kind of stuff, I do prefer how this story is more about a woman going through grief rather than just trying to be a typical comic book cookie cutter thing. So now we're gonna ask Ethan. Ethan, what is your thoughts on WandaVision episode 9 and the whole series as a whole?
Um, well, the whole series as a whole, I'm just gonna start off with that. I've just enjoyed the whole series. I just each episode is like it's like each episode is like a different page of a comic book, and it's just like the whole thing felt very comic booky to me, and it was enjoyable, and I like how grounded it is because for the past however many Marvel movies there's been, their whole path has just been let's get to this one big thing. But now we're just like focusing on Wanda and her journey after the events of Endgame, and it's just been nice. Uh, and like you said, I like the style that they were going with the sitcom. It was all enjoyable. Episode 9 specifically, I I love it, and I was kind of disappointed like you, just because like I was one of those fans who was really expecting Mephisto at some point, but I'm kind of still thinking he'll show up sometime in the MCU sometime soon. But yeah, episode 9, I enjoyed it. I have a lot of things that I want to talk about, like things that happen in episode 9, but I'll let you go ahead and do your thing.
All right, but before we get into that, welcome Noah and Nathaniel. Welcome to the show. And I don't know who the third person is, but I'm excited to have all of you be here apart. But let's get something out of the way. Mephisto. Now, Mephisto from episode 1 was theorized for a long time. I was one of the people who, when I saw the first 4 episodes, I was like, Mephisto's not going to show up. I don't believe Kevin Feige would risk it. But there was one thing specifically that made me think it's Mephisto, and that is when Monica Rambeau was kicked out of the Hex, and she said it's all Wanda. My first reaction was, there is no way that it's all Wanda just because they're revealing it so early on into the show. So I was like, yep, it's gonna be either Mephisto, Nightmare, Grim Reaper, maybe even Thanos again, maybe even Darkseid. I don't know, but that's what I thought. And they teased Mephisto so much. They kept saying Ralph. They kept the bunny, like she would talk to it. And now there's like little things. And not having Mephisto did leave me bit disappointed. I was like, why all this hype and all these little demonic references? Like you had a ton of sixes, you had hexagons, you have everything, and it left me wondering. So y'all in the comments, let me know, what did you think about Mephisto? Like, did you want him in it? And also, Ethan, I would like to know your input on Mephisto.
I I actually really wanted to see Mephisto come in because there's so many plots with Mephisto that would have just worked perfectly. Uh and I I just expected it to happen because like you said there were so many small details like even just character dialogue. I think I actually talked to you a while when the specific episode came out where it was the whole little conversation with Agnes and Wanda and the other girls in the neighborhood, and like there was this little banter like devil in the details, Bev, and then Agnes like that's not the only place he is like that. I was like, hmm, and then a more recent episode where the fake Pietro shows up. He's like talks to the kids. He's like devil spawns. I'm like, I mean, in the comics they are devil spawns. So like I was really expecting it to happen because they laid so many groundwork for that to be the case. But it all just ended up being Agnes, which I have no problem with.
It was Agatha all along. I actually really love that intro, but yeah, I agree with
That
you.
was it was catchy.
I was fine, no Mephisto. My problem is they kept teasing it so much, and it's like, what's
Hmm.
the point of so much build up for nothing? It's like, what's the payoff? And, even though I still love WandaVision and it still exceeded way beyond what I thought it originally was gonna be, I still it's like this little thought in the back of my head that, just I can't ignore it. But y'all in the comments, let us know, what did you think? Did you think it was smart that they didn't put it Mephisto, or do you think it was a really dumb idea? And yeah, but there's also another thing that I want to get out of the way, and that is Evan Peters' Quicksilver. So I'm a big fan of Evan Peters. I think two of the best scenes in the whole entire X-Men franchise involves him running with the slow motion speed in Apocalypse and in Days of Future Past. And so I sadly was spoiled the week prior. I saw a scene with Quicksilver, so sadly the spoiler, was kind of ruined it for me. But I still enjoyed seeing Evan Peters because to me he is my favorite live action Quicksilver. When he first came in, when he said Wanda, my sister, or something like that, I automatically knew this isn't a multiverse thing. However, I thought maybe there'd be a scene where Vision with his fingers, he like evaporate whatever he does, and then he'd be like, "Oh, where's Charles? Where's everyone? Where's X-Men?"
Oh, that would have been nice, actually.
Yeah, and I even ranted about this in the video I made prior, where I was like, why would you have this Evan Peters? Like, they could have had a random actor, they could have had somebody random, and they decided just to make a boner joke, which I did not expect from Marvel. But you guys, let me know your thoughts, and Ethan, I want to know your thoughts on the whole Evan Peters thing.
I have mixed feelings on it. I feel like it was slightly wasted. I think the if Evan Peters, if they like they could have totally introduced the multiverse, which I guess their whole point of not doing that is that's their goal in Doctor Strange, which is understandable, but I just expected there to be a multiverse thing, but I still enjoyed to see Evan Peters in the MCU, whether it was a gag or you know. But no, his whole character was just very interesting to me. I'm like, I couldn't figure out if he was supposed to be the missing person that Sword kept talking about, or I didn't get that. I didn't catch what was going on there.
You,
So there's some
you,
things that kind of went over my head.
one question I actually have of like one question. It's a small little detail I have is, why did he have a whole paper with his picture and his name? Like, why did he have it just laying there? Like, who has a picture of themselves that big with their name? It's like, and it kind of gave me a theory that he was an actor in the Marvel universe, like a real guy named Ralph Boner, who's an actor. Agatha hired him, put like the necklace for the powers. My only thing is, what's the explanation to why they got Evan Peters exactly. Was it just for
Mhm.
a gag, or were they slightly saying, "Oh, there might be a multiverse"? Because I know WandaVision was filmed before they had the rights to X-Men, so it did
Mhm.
surprise me when they even had Evan Peters there. I remember 2 years ago, there was rumors that Evan Peters was in it, and I was like, "No way, nah." And especially because it wasn't the big trade sources, so I didn't really believe it. But when he popped up, I was like, "Whoa!" That I mean, I was like, I mean, that's pretty cool. I expected them to bring in
Mhm.
Adam Taylor Johnson, or I think that's his first name. But there is one reference that did like a lot, which was in the episode after he revealed. I think he said something that involved Kick Ass. And that Adam Taylor Johnson and Evan
Yeah.
Peters were both in that film, and you even had Wanda just say, you even had Wanda say, kick
Like,
ass, and I thought that was a little
huh.
funny thing. Also,
Okay.
Noah says he's an actor. I don't know if they revealed it, but that was just my little theory, but I don't think it mattered.
I would have
Uh,
to go over it again.
yeah, I haven't seen the episode again. I only saw it once. And
Mhm.
yeah, y'all let me know your thoughts on what did you think? What did you like Evan Peters' reveal? Do you think it was wasted, or do you think it was just a funny little goof? Especially since they turned it into a boner joke. Like if you had told me in episode 5 that all this built up was for a boner joke, I would have thought you were crazy or something. But yeah, there is one little thing that I want to discuss, and that is, how do you think this ties into Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man 3? Because Kevin Feige did say something about how this is part of a little trilogy, a multiverse trilogy. Well, from the title of Doctor Strange 2, that's what it seems like. But how do you think it ties into it, Ethan?
Well, as far as I know from the comics, you know, the three main characters that I have always noticed that always has like something to do with the multiverse or something grand scale like that is always Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, or Spider Man. No other characters really go into the whole multiverse thing. So just from that knowledge, they were the most logical choice to build a multiverse saga or
Yeah,
multiverse trilogy or whatever they're doing here. Uh, I don't know exactly. I can't exactly say how WandaVision is gonna how it is starting for that because for the most part they just gave her a huge power up. That's all I like from most of what I got from this. She has a huge power up now, and Vision is kind of back, which was something I actually wanted to talk about with you, see what you thought about it. But
White Vision.
that's all I can get from it. That's all I can get from it is that she's way more powerful now, and she's gonna keep getting more powerful now that she has the dark hold by the end of the series.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think I'm not sure how long of a time gap it's gonna be from now to Doctor Strange 2. For our world, it's 2 years, but I don't know how they're gonna say in the MCU, because Endgame did have an entire 5-year jump. But
Well, we
I
do know that Far From Home takes 8 months after Endgame, and apparently the beginning of WandaVision was supposed to be like 2 weeks after Endgame.
yeah.
So, and we already kind of know that No Way Home is supposed. I mean, I can only guess it's going to take place right after Far From Home.
Yeah, I think
So
it's gonna be,
it just
like, exact
depends.
second.
It depends. Yeah, it depends. Like where Doctor Strange is gonna fit in. Is it gonna fit in after Far From Home? Like, is Far From Home is what's gonna kick off the whole multiverse thing, or will it be Doctor Strange?
I do like in episode 9, they had a little hint that said you'd be more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme. I'm like, yep, they're prophesizing that she's gonna have a battle with Doctor Strange, because I feel like Doctor Strange 2 will be all about controlling Wanda. I feel like Doctor Strange will try to bring her into the good side. I feel like by the time we see Wanda, I feel like it'll be 8 months, somewhere around that time, and I feel like by then she'll finally learn like more spells. I don't think she'll be more powerful than Doctor Strange at that point, but I do think eventually some type of grief will affect her to a point where she's going to be so strong that it's just affecting the entire multiverse. But I do have a little concern on like how are we going to introduce the multiverse, because WandaVision didn't really introduce it, or maybe they did, but with the little secret hint that we just didn't see. But yeah, that's just my
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. Like, Doctor Strange 2 is the movie I'm most excited for. Doctor Strange 2 is the movie that when they announced like at Marvel, I forgot what it was called. It was a title that I was like, heck yeah, that's the one I want to see the most, especially the title
Mm,
and the fiery background. I'm like, I wonder what's gonna happen. And I feel like
mhm.
Doctor Strange 2, I don't know if she'll be the main villain, but I feel like she's gonna be the villain because it felt like WandaVision, they were teasing too much that she would end up being the villain. Also, welcome everyone
Well,
who's just joining us today.
on that note, it was from what I can tell, like if we're like I love power scaling characters. That's just something that I've always enjoyed doing. As far as I can tell, I think what they mean by that is raw power. I think Scarlet Witch is supposed to be stronger at this point, but power isn't everything, and we know how smart Strange is. So I feel like if there is some sort of combat, some sort of fight between the two, I think it will be a pretty even match just because, Doctor Strange is very smart and has had more experience through all this.
Yeah.
Uh, and Wanda is just 8 months in. Like, if that's how they're going to play it, she'll just be about 8 to maybe 9 months into learning everything she's learned from the Darkhold. And
Yeah.
we remember there's like a whole library that Strange owns on magic. So I'm just
Yeah.
keeping that out there, so
I
there's
also
no
have one
unbiased.
I also have one funny thing. Imagine if the battle between Strange and Wanda is them going through a dark realm and you have Doctor Strange back with the time stone saying, Wanda, I've come to bargain. That'd be the
Yeah.
funniest thing. I don't know how it would work doing it again, but Kevin Feige has proven time and time again that the reason why he's so powerful in Hollywood is because he gives us these kinds of films where he takes from the comics and makes his own type of adaptation to them, like Infinity
Hmm.
War. Like I am glad that he didn't go all in like like I love the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. I just want something fresh and something new.
Hmm. No, no, I like that idea. The whole I come to bargain.
Is that
No,
Hey, Kevin Feige,
like
if
think
you're
about
watching
it.
this, you can take my idea. Just send me my paycheck. It can be $5, $10, how much it is. But Kevin
No,
Feige, just
the thing that I've always thought about, like, you know, Doctor Strange, and I always compare the comics, and I think that's probably one of my flaws. But Doctor Strange powers, he has time abilities. He has time manipulation and kind of some reality warping to a certain level. So it would be interesting to see, like, if he eventually learns how to manipulate time without the time stone, uh or if Scarlet Witch figures out a way to manipulate time, like she's already doing things with reality, you know,
yeah.
it shouldn't be that big of a stretch. But no, I'm still stuck on the whole I couldn't have bargained thing. That's
And now we
uh,
don't see that. It's gonna be a disappointment.
like
But
now I'm just thinking, like, what if like they get thrown into the I can't remember the dark realm where Dormammu is, but like they see them still having that conversation from the first movie. I've come to bargain, like, and then he's just like, I did do that.
all right, so I'm
That
gonna take a
hurt.
second right now to plug your channel because some people are just joining.
What's going on?
Here,
I
aren't
hope
we?
she's not evil.
Joking. What are the comments saying? Neither compared to the true Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Faith. Imagine if we actually get Doctor Faith in the future. I wonder
Mm,
what we're gonna get introduced to, like in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I
hmm.
wonder if they're gonna bring in a Mephisto or Nightmare or Grim Reaper. Or I don't know who it could be. I would love
When
to
I
see
saw
Nightmare.
the when I saw the card, the title card for Multiverse of Madness, maybe it was just me, but like the whole red and the font, just for me, that just like screamed Mephisto.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like, the first thing I thought. I'm like, that's pretty devilish,
When
you know.
they described the film, I do think more now it's Mephisto, but when they first described it, they said it would be the first horror Marvel film. And knowing Doctor Strange's rogue gallery of villains, I was kind of predicting Nightmare. But the more and more we're
Hmm.
getting into, and especially after what you just said, I'm thinking I think it's gonna be Mephisto, especially now that Wanda is in play in Doctor Strange
Hmm.
2. And
And
honestly, man, I cannot wait.
Doctor Strange is messed. Like Doctor Strange, the thing is, these three characters, like I'm still tying in Spider-Man because I'm very hopeful that they'll throw Spider-Man into the multiverse. But again, these three characters, not only do they have the multiverse related, they also have Mephisto related. I don't know if you know this certain comic, but it takes place during the events of Civil War when Peter revealed his identity, and everyone was gunning
Yeah,
for him. So he makes a deal with Mephisto,
I remember.
and they have that related. And we all know Doctor Strange has had to do things against Mephisto, and as we all know, with every YouTube channel out there talking about the situation with Scarlet Witch and Mephisto, those three characters have Mephisto related situations. So it would be interesting to see if that comes into play. And I
Yeah, I
feel like it
wonder if
would
we are
work.
gonna get Spider-Man in the film. I wonder what
Hmm.
they're gonna put in I feel like Spider-Man won't really go into it. I feel like it'll just reference some things like maybe you'll have a headline that says "Witch takes over entire town" or something like that,
Uh-huh.
or Wanda on the run. Where is she? And then or maybe they're gonna go into Doctor Strange to where he's at, and then Doctor Strange is gonna be like, okay, so I need to look for Wanda, something like that. But there
Hmm.
is one thing I want to talk about, and this is, I think, the thing that most fans, besides the Mephisto thing, I think it was the most disappointing thing, and that is the Luke Skywalker level cameo. So I'm a big Star Wars fan. I remember in Mandalorian season 2, I was going crazy when Luke Skywalker popped up. So when an interviewer asked, here's exactly what the interviewer said. He asked, since Mandalorian just had this big cameo, will WandaVision have a cameo like that? And Elizabeth Olsen responded with, yes, yes, I'm very excited. Now she didn't exactly say Luke Skywalker, however, she did say yes to it, and we were all theorizing: could it be Ian McKellen's Magneto, Patrick Stewart's
Hmm.
uh, Charles Xavier, or maybe even someone like Tobey Maguire's Spider Man. However, they all came out to be false, and I feel like what I think Elizabeth Olsen was trying to say was Evan Peters' Quicksilver, because I highly doubt she's a Star Wars fan. So I think maybe she assumed that Evan Peters' Quicksilver is at that level. I mean, to Marvel fans out there, the ones who are more Marvel than Star Wars, I guess to them
Hmm.
that is more. But to me, who's more fans of both, I consider Luke Skywalker's level cameo here, while I consider Evan Peters' cameo like down here. No disrespect,
Hmm.
it's just Luke Skywalker has more history than Evan
Yeah,
Peters.
no. And also, a lot of people were expecting somebody else with Paul Bettany saying there was an actor that is coming in that he's been dying to work with, and then by the end of episode 9, I think we all just realized he's talking about himself.
he, he really cocky. He's like, I always want to
he's,
work with
ta-
myself.
he's talking about himself when White Vision came in. It's like he
Uh,
played us.
Legion of Nerds just comment, I felt betrayed when Nick Cage wasn't in WandaVision. Yeah, in my channel, he kept commenting how he wanted Nicolas Cage as a as Ghost Rider back. I'm not gonna lie, if that popped up, even though I'm not the biggest Ghost Rider
With the
movie
whole
fan,
multiverse thing, that would
yeah,
be interesting.
maybe in Doctor
I've
Strange 2
all
we'll see that.
Yeah, like I've been dying to see Ghost Rider come back, or at least come into the MCU, because another big like comic book moment that I've always found legendary was if you've ever read the World War Hulk
Yeah,
comics, there was this particular moment when Ghost Rider came onto the scene to fight the Hulk, and Doctor Strange was saying, he pretty much said, if anybody could kill the Hulk, it would be the Ghost Rider. The only question is if he'll just if he finds Hulk innocent or not.
yeah.
And it's just saying that Ghost Rider is actually one of the strong. To me, as far as I can tell, he's up there with Mephisto, and Mephisto is a pretty powerful guy too. And they have, who knows, maybe Ghost Rider will show up. I mean, Ghost Rider and Mephisto, they're related, and we're going into the multiverse. So let's see.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind if Marvel just somehow decided to be like, oh, you know what? Let's just bring in Ghost Rider. I mean, let me rephrase that. Let's bring in Nicolas Cage. Just say he's from another multiverse who just popped in there and just bring him in because I love Nicolas Cage. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of his Ghost Rider film, I wouldn't mind if the MCU just randomly was like, bring in Nicolas Cage, especially since he's a big actor. What do you think if Nicolas Cage was to be in the MCU?
I I would probably trip because I like when I was younger and I first saw the Ghost Rider films with Nicolas Cage, I loved them. And it wasn't until I got older or I started kind of realizing what's a good movie and what's a bad one. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean, that could have been better, but I feel like it would still be a pretty iconic. He's iconically bad as Ghost Rider. Is the way I see it. So it would just be a nice little nod, and I'd like to see how they would pull that off if that would be the case.
You know who would be amazing to bring in for Doctor Strange 2 or anywhere at all in the MCU would be, wait for it, Chris Evans as Human Torch. Just bring
That
him
would
in.
that would kill me.
That would be the greatest thing ever. Just imagine Twitter and
Like,
imagine if he gets
hey,
to meet old
Cap,
Cap.
you
Maybe even
Cap,
have him
who's Cap?
maybe even have Deadpool be like, yo, that looks like Captain America or something like that. Or maybe be like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess Marvel couldn't afford another actor. Let me read this comment by Legion of Nerds. I love the Ghost Rider movies as a kid, so now no matter how bad things wait, dang, I can't read today. How bad some things in the movies are, they're just way too nostalgic. They're for me to dislike those movies. And that's how I feel. Look, something I've been saying a lot on the
Yeah.
channel is all film is subjective. Even if it's a movie that's not liked by anyone at all, the best thing about film is that you can enjoy, and that's amazing. Personally, I don't like the Ghost Rider movies, but I do feel somewhat the same way with the first Fantastic Four movie. I grew up with that movie as a kid. That was my first introduction to Fantastic Four, especially because it came out when I was really young. And that film, even though now I look back at it and I don't like it, I still look back as like I remember when I was a kid watching that movie, being amazed by seeing everybody, Human Torch, Thing, everyone, and especially Doctor Doom, who growing up was one of my favorite villains of all time. And I would love to see
Hmm.
Doctor Doom, especially in the MCU. And
Hmm.
what do you think about that, Ethan?
Uh, the Fantastic Four movies or Doctor Strange coming into the MCU? I
Uh,
mean, ah, Doctor Doom.
the like, do you feel the same way that Legion of Nerds feels like about a certain movie, like any
Yeah,
movie?
see, nostalgia. This is this famous thing that well, not famous, but something that stuck out to me that another YouTuber said once. Jax Blade. He said nostalgia is hell of a drug, especially when it comes to favorite cartoons and movies. Uh, so yeah, this just the whole nostalgia thing. It can pretty much save anything in
That's
a
what
way.
Disney's been doing a lot with the live action Aladdin, live action Lion King. Like, expect in 20 years from now, they'll bring in RDJ as Iron Man and be like, nostalgia.
Nostalgia, and I feel like that's why so many people are really wanting to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield into a whole multiverse thing. Because I mean, I loved both of those actors as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, a lot of people, they bash Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, but I personally, I loved it because it was different. But
Yeah.
it's the nostalgia factor. Like, I know you love Tobey Maguire Spider Man, so
Yeah.
I know, like, for you that would be like I can die peacefully now,
Yes.
like if seeing him in the MCU.
I want
So
everyone in my grave just to write, got to see Toby return in the MCU.
got to see Toby return.
No way Doctor Strange is coming to the MCU, gas. Oh no, Ethan just spoiled it for us. Toby Maguire. I will say, Toby Maguire. Toby Maguire isn't my favorite actor of all time. In fact, I'll even say this: I've only seen like 2 or 3 other movies where he's not Spider-Man. However, I've said this for a long time. If I got to meet one celebrity, it would be Toby Maguire, just because his Spider-Man just changed my childhood. I remember when I was a kid, my parents constantly, just to entertain me, would like put in a VHS tape of Spider-Man 2. Yes, that old.
Mhm.
And they said eventually I grow out of it, but instead I started loving it even more the older I get. And I remember back in 2018, I think there's this phase among geeks and nerds, everyone saying, "Oh, the Tobey Maguire movies are too cheesy," and like it came out of nowhere where everyone was saying they're too cheesy, they're too early 2000s. Is the CGI is bad, and it got to a point where I felt like everyone was just nitpicking. But yeah, I do still like Andrew Garfield's because I was still relatively young when Andrew Garfield came. He's not my favorite. But I would say that first Amazing Spider-Man movie I really love a ton. And
Mhm.
also, I just remembered that in Spider-Man 2, it's been confirmed by real sources. Uh, we're gonna get Jimmy Fox's Electro, which
No, I
to me
saw
that's
that.
something I never thought at all in a million years would happen.
Because
And
I
we're gonna get
personally loved his Electro, and I feel like if studios, if the studio didn't like try to mess with so much, and that's the thing
yeah.
with a lot of like even DC, the
Oh,
studio, they keep
especially
messing
DC.
with things. They keep messing with things. Just like let the director do his thing,
Yeah,
you
my
know.
thoughts on that, especially with Justice League, that movie and Suicide Squad too. But I think Justice League is a pure example of it, where studios nowadays are meddling. And so I'm fine if studios do come in and be like, "Hey, how about we not have an R-rated Spider-Man movie or something like that? Like,
Hmm.
have the basics." But that's something you negotiate prior to having the director film. Like you tell them, "Hey, just don't do some of the dumb things." Like, let's say don't have a sex scene of Spider-Man doing it with Ned or something like that. Just don't do that. Like, I understand that. However, once the filming starts, I think you got to understand the vision of the director. And that's why I'm glad that we're finally getting Zack Snyder's Justice League. And Kevin Feige, I think, is a pure example of how to do that, where he like lets the directors do their thing, but he tells them, all right, so this is the part of the MCU. So of course, don't do things that mess up the continuity of the MCU. So that's how I
Hmm.
see the whole studio meddling thing. But there is one thing I kind of think that we need to talk about because this guy got so famous and nobody expected that, and that is Randall Park as Jimmy Woo. Like everyone on Instagram, Twitter, they're simping over Jimmy Woo, and like
Jimmy
now
Woo.
everyone's noticing Randall Park is in so many things now. Prior to this, all I knew him from was Kim Jong Un in the interview film with Seth Rogen and James Franco, and I knew him
Hmm.
as Asian Jim Halpert in The Office. But now everyone's noticing he's in every movie. Like there's movies where I was like, wait, he was in that. What
Hmm.
what did you think about
Everybody's
Randall
like,
Parker?
Jimmy Woo. Ooh.
Everyone's simping for him, even guys, straight guys,
Hmm.
and who wouldn't
Yep.
mind, right?
Like
uh,
Jimmy Woo. He can
he's.
do a magic trick with me any day.
I don't know how they do that trick, like the card
Right?
pulling. Like, do they have in their sleeve? But then again, like their hand
Well,
is far from the
I feel like
sleeve.
that was a nice continuity nod in WandaVision. Like after the events of Ant-Man 2, it's like, I'm going to practice this magic.
Hey, he did. I think they never said it, but I do think he was alive for the 5 years, so he had a long time to master that. And I would
Oh,
love to see a scene where he shows that to Scott Lang. That would be
yeah.
amazing. Y'all in the comments, let us know what did you think about Jimmy Woo. All these actors, Monica Rambeau, Agatha, Darcy Lewis, they got a lot of recognitions now.
I
Prior to
love
this,
the thing is Darcy Lewis, like that one was something that made me really happy to see her come back
yeah,
cuz I found her character a joy in the first two Thor movies. And I wanted to see more of her, and I was like, oh, Thor 3. Oh, never saw anything. And then WandaVision, Darcy was like in I forgot, like third, fourth episode she came in. Just like, yes, I missed her.
I will not lie. I'm not the biggest fan of Kat Dennings, especially because I don't know if you've seen the sitcom, but there's a show called Two Broke Girls, and it's
Hmm.
one of the cringiest shows I've ever seen. So it's kind of like she's in the back of my head when I think of that. But I did like her a lot in the Thor movies, and I understand why she wasn't in Ragnarok, but I'm still disappointed not to see her. And when they said that she was coming back in WandaVision, I was pleasantly surprised, and she was amazing in it. But one thing I was
Hmm.
disappointed was episode 9. She only had one moment, and that was her running into Hayward.
I
Hey,
mean,
at least she
it
was a
was
hero, though.
it was a nice scene. but I wish she was in it more.
Yeah, let me read this comment by Legion of Nerds. I used to not like how in Amazing Spider-Man, Peter didn't keep his promise to the police chief or be responsible with Gwen, but then I realized because of the choice, Gwen died. All right, so I will say something. There's a lot of people who nitpick that. Something I always noticed was I always just considered Andrew. He's a young adult. He's a teenager. Teenagers don't keep promises. So I always saw it that
Yeah.
way. And I will not lie, even though I don't like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I would even say it's the worst Spider-Man movie in my personal opinion. There is one
Hmm.
scene, and that is Gwen's death, that really makes you tear up a ton. And Gwen and Peter's relationship was one of the best comic book movie relationships I've ever seen, in my personal opinion, because it felt real. It
Hmm.
felt real.
And they were actually dating in real life, so like they just had they just had that chemistry that just worked for the
It
movies.
was perfect. Now we're gonna talk about something you mentioned earlier. You want to talk about in White Vision. So I'm gonna let Ethan talk on this first because he was the one who brought it up early. So what are your thoughts on White Vision and what do you think's gonna happen in the future?
All right, so like the last that we saw, White Vision, they it was it was that perfect conversation between White Vision, who is technically, I mean that's what they were debating. What is the real Vision? Uh, so by the end of that conversation, he was like, "I am Vision," and he just storms off, and he has all his memories back. So the question is like, we know he's alive, we know he's out there. What is he gonna do? Is he gonna come back to try to find Wanda? And even more so, I'm thinking he has his memories, but does he necessarily have the same personality that he did before? Remember the mind, he had the Mind Stone, Tony, Ultron, Banner. He had all those different overlapping personalities within him, which made him Vision. But did that go away when he died the first time? And him coming back, we can't say just because he has his memories, he might not be the same Vision, you know. And I'm curious of what he's gonna do when he comes back. Is his goal gonna be to help Wanda, or is he gonna show up in Doctor Strange and participate in that ballpark? I'm just excited to see what he does. And as far as I know, there was this interview with Paul Bettany, uh, who said he couldn't talk about the whole Mephisto thing because he was afraid to be fired, and that made me wonder, like, how long is his contract? Like, is he? I mean, we've kind of figured out how long characters are going to stay in the MCU by actors' contracts. So I'm just curious, like, when is his contract going to end? Because if it isn't ending now, and it doesn't sound like he wants to go yet, we might see more of White Vision,
Yeah, I
and
do think
I'm
we'll
hoping
see him
he
in Doctor
comes
Strange
back
too.
entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something I will say is the design for I almost said Doctor Strange. For White Vision looks really cool. Like it looks nice. It looks like he was clean beforehand.
Hmm.
It looked like when we saw a first shot of him in episode 8, it looked normal and basic, but when you saw him up close and like without the shield thing, and the whatever it was, when we saw him like that, I was like, oh my god, this is gonna like Hot Toys of that Vision's gonna sell a lot because he looked real cool in it.
Uh huh.
What I do think will happen is there's a comic. I'm not sure which one was it exactly, but we see White Vision, and White Vision talks to Wicked and Speed and Wanda. And he says, "I have the memories of your father, but I am not your father," or something like that.
Exactly. Like that's what I was pretty much saying. Like I don't know if he's gonna come back because like I don't think he has all those same feelings and personalities that he did just because he has the memories.
Yeah, Legion of Nerds noticed. I've noticed both of you almost said Doctor Strange accidentally so much. I think that's because we're thinking so much about him to a
We're
point.
thinking so much about the multiverse and how, because Doctor Strange is the next step of pretty much what's gonna happen in this story. So I think that's why we keep messing that one up.
Yeah, I think at least 3 times I've accidentally said Doctor Strange with like by
Uh-huh.
accident. But yeah, I will. Now I think there's one thing I want to talk about, and what are your thoughts on Catherine Hahn as Agatha Harkness, who for a long time was not called Agatha; they just called her Agnes, but it was clear and obvious that she was Agatha all along.
All along.
I love that
Yeah,
song. What are
yeah,
your
no.
thoughts on Catherine Hahn's performance?
I see. I wish I could be. I wish I knew more because I don't know enough about Agatha's character in the comic books.
Mhm.
I only know what other interviewers and our reviewers have gone over and talked about, and I try to get as much as I can. But just on the I of someone who doesn't know anything about Agatha's character, I enjoyed her performance. I liked how I just liked it. It was different, and I liked how manipulative she was being in the eighth and ninth episode.
I will say this though. I know a lot of comic book geeks never admit things, but I really didn't know much about Agatha prior to WandaVision. All I remember was her being
Hmm.
a babysitter in Fantastic Four and being a mentor slash villain to Wanda. Uh, so seeing Catherine Hahn's performance kind of make me wanna like Agatha. I
Hmm.
think that's where I give her credit because I did not expect Agatha to be interesting, especially since the whole time I was just thinking Mephisto, Mephisto, and I never thought
Hmm.
Agatha. And also, I did notice
And
one thing in the final battle between Agatha and Wanda, it kind of felt exactly like the final battle in Endgame with Thanos and Iron Man, where you have like Agatha and Thanos both about to think they're gonna take the final strike. Then you see her like pause, like kind of like Thanos when he was about to snap, like he's like, why is it not working?
hmm.
And then you have like Wanda and Tony Stark both like building up, and then eventually they
Mm,
have their
yeah,
whole
no.
the shining moment.
What I liked about that whole fight, and just episode nine and I guess some of eight in general, she was teaching Wanda as she was pretty much trying to take everything away from Wanda. She was like, telling her about the runes or explaining what's her power in a way, and explain just it was a nice like mentor fight in a way.
In a
But
way, the reason why Agatha lost was because she took the time out of her day just to go to flashbacks. Although the reason why
right.
she did the flashbacks was to figure out how she made the hex, but still, she still caused her own though. So Agatha, it's like now it's her fault for being a nosy neighbor permanently now. Also, let me read
Uh-huh.
this comment. She did a good job with what she was given, but I still have no idea who Agatha is from. WandaVision, I don't really know why she wants to do things. Her writing seems so bland. I will say this though. I still love Catherine Hahn. I just never was very intrigued with Agatha Harkness, so I can't really compare too much with comics. Like with
Hmm.
Spider-Man, Joker, Batman, I can't compare them in a way to the comics, but because I don't care too much about Agatha in the comics, I didn't really have that jump from the comics. Like, you know what I mean?
Like for me, it was more I don't know enough about Scarlet Witch's character and her stories from the comics, other than the big stories.
I'm
And
not gonna lie though, the only
Agatha
com
is a sorry, go ahead.
you can go ahead. I'll say it after.
No, the whole thing with Agatha, like I think we both agree on, we don't know enough about Agatha as a character, but uh, the betrayal. I mean, the what's her name, Catherine Hahn.
Yeah, that's it.
Her portrayal made me want to read more. Read more about Agatha's character, and actually, I want to read more about Scarlet Witch as a character as well, because
Yeah.
it made me realize there's so much I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie, the only comic I can remember from the top of my head reading that involves Wanda as a major character is obviously the House of M storyline. That's like really the only comic I can remember because I never really cared. But now I think every Marvel fan, Marvel like MCU and comic book fans now see
Now know
Wanda
that
as this
story.
high. Yeah. And I think that's what I like about having Disney Plus shows is that these minor characters, because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really care too much about Vision and Wanda in the MCU prior to this.
Hmm.
With these shows, it feels like now we're getting these characters as real stories, a real background, and these real character moments. So honestly, like that's why I'm excited for Falcon Winter Soldier, Loki, all the future shows, because they really showed you the side of the Marvel universe that you really didn't expect, like the human side of side characters.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I get exactly what you mean. It's like it's making it more intimate in a way. You
Yeah,
know, it's uh, by having it as a series, like a mini series, rather than like one or two movies. It gives you the chance to see all the small like things that these characters are thinking in a
yeah,
way. You know, like the certain like or this is what's going on. Like it's just you could see the way these characters actually think, and that's something that you can only kind of sort of see in the movies.
yeah.
But no, that's just what I think is like there's more small details that you can find what it when it's a show rather than when it's a movie.
Yeah, and they also have less pressure now because when you make, well, there's always gonna be pressure. It's Hollywood. Hollywood's such a thin margin, but with
Hmm.
movies, you have to worry about box office, and especially when you have a big action blockbuster like Marvel, where you're expected to make above 800 million in the box office, which is a ton. Uh, Now with these shows, you don't really have to worry too much about.
It's about
Yeah.
ratings.
Now it's watch time, ratings, and subscriptions. And really, subscriptions isn't much pressure because you still like a lot of people already had Disney Plus because of The Mandalorian, and obviously
And think
Disney's
about it
very
this
popular.
way: Disney Plus is still pretty much a baby. it's
Yeah,
still it's still pretty young.
I'm telling you, in less than 3 years, I predict Netflix is gonna take a major L to Disney, especially because Netflix, they don't have much good original content. Almost
Hmm.
all of their like best content is all licenses, while Disney owns everything they have on Disney Plus, so they don't have to worry
Hmm.
about Marvel movies being taken away, or Star Wars or anything like that being taken away because it's theirs at the end of the day,
Hmm.
and
Like
especially the
with
original content.
yeah, if talking about like Netflix and Disney Plus, like uh there's only really a handful of Netflix originals that I hear people talk about. And yeah, and when they took everything Disney related off Netflix's platform, it was
Yeah,
like, oh dang,
like
you know.
Netflix. One problem I have with Netflix is they have so much original content that just sucks, that when I hear about a Netflix original show or movie, I'm like, it's gonna suck. Even though what the funny thing is, in 2020, my favorite movie of the year was Trial of the Chicago 7, which was a Netflix original. But that's one problem that Netflix, like their reputation now is
It's a
terrible
hit or
content.
miss.
Yeah, it's like they're just like, oh, do you want to make a show? Here's some money. Go ahead, do it. With Disney Plus, you got two shows. Mandalorian, that's universally loved. It's the first thing Star Wars fans can agree on in years. And now you have WandaVision, and Falcon and Winter Soldier right now is getting a ton of hype and attention because in 2 weeks we're about to see that. Then Loki, and then not only that, but you have a ton of property that you know very well will never get removed. Because I remember 3 years ago when I got Netflix subscription, my main worry was, are these shows and movies that I'm waiting for like are gonna last? Like Thor Ragnarok. I remember Thor Ragnarok was my main favorite thing on Netflix for a while. Got taken away just in a snap. And that's the one worry I have of Netflix. While Disney Plus, I'm like, I know very well if I want to watch a certain movie, there it is.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I have a question. What subscriptions do you pay for if you have any?
Uh, I actually, I'm a bit of a leech. I take it from my friends, but it's Netflix and Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I
Pedro.
had
Pedro
I
uses my Disney
had
Plus.
Funimation. I had Funimation. I was considering Crunchyroll, but Crunchyroll mainly has subs, and call me basic, but I like to know what I'm watching. I like to hear English. I mean, I'm fine with subs, but I have a preference.
Yeah, that's how I don't know if you've seen my videos in the last few months. I started trying to watch anime, and two animes I watched were One Punch Man and My Hero Academia. I did not get the subtitles because one thing I've always said about movies is I'm not gonna be reading the whole thing because I want to pay attention to
Mhm.
everything. And I remember I had a few anime fans saying you didn't like it because it was subbed, or no, it was dubbed. And I was like, well, I don't want to read it. I mean, the reason why
Uh-huh.
I'm watching it is because I want to see good content. I don't want to read. If I want to read, I'll go pick up a manga or something like that. But let us
Mhm.
get this comment by Legion of Nerds. One of the things I don't like about the MCU is that if they were to stop putting any effort in the movies and just have standard movies every time, it would take several years for it to start. Does that say falling? Oh no, it says failing.
Failing.
I will say something. One thing Kevin Feige has done really intelligently is he's the perfect mixture of a comic book geek and a Hollywood producer. Like there's like for example Walter Hamada who runs DC. One problem I have with him is it feels like he's not one of us. It feels like he's just your typical Hollywood producer. And one thing Kevin Feige knows is okay, our main priority is make it a good movie. Let's take the
Mhm.
comic book aspects and throw them in there for comic book fans while also putting them there for movie fans. And one thing Marvel has done very intelligently is a lot of their movies don't require you having to go watch other movies. You can just like for example,
Mhm.
I had a friend who watched Endgame as his first MCU movie and he understood it perfectly. And that's what I give Kevin Feige a lot of credit for. How you don't have to be a comic book fan, you don't have to be an MCU fan at all just to get into these movies. But I do hope that they don't fall off because now they're going all in on Disney Plus. I don't think they will because Kevin Feige, one thing he's perfected is the right director, the right cast, and the right writers. And I think that's something I get Kevin Feige a lot of credit for. And what are your thoughts on
Something
that,
that
Ethan?
no, something that I noticed while watching the Marvel movies is that I started realizing if someone wanted to pick up Marvel, but they didn't want to start from like all the way from the first Iron Man movie, they can start they can start from Civil War really, and then
Yeah,
they could just skip everything in between Civil War, Infinity War, and just watch Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame, and they can pretty much catch what's going on. And
yeah.
that that's what I think is interesting. Like like you said, the movies build upon each other without relying on each other for structure.
Yeah.
Like that, they needed. It wasn't the same in the beginning, but they kind of mastered that in a way.
Yeah, it's like it's just like if you want your friend like you have a random person who wants to get into the MCU, really the easy and good way that Marvel has really been an expert of is you can just jump in wherever you want. I will say though, it is better if you watch like if you're going into Infinity War Endgame, it's better to of course watch the others because there's like little hints and stuff like that from prior films.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really relatively easy story wise. Like you're not there being like wait, what happened? It's kind of like there's
Mm-hmm.
films who often rely on others, like Harry Potter. Watching the last Harry Potter movies kind of relies on the older ones, so that way you can catch up. And same thing with the original Star Wars trilogy, where if you're watching Return of the Jedi, you need to watch Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. While Marvel, it's like, oh, you want to watch WandaVision? Doesn't matter. Go ahead and just jump in.
Mm-hmm. But actually, something that I was wanting to talk about. It's a little sorry, it's a little off of what we were talking about just now. But what do you
Yeah.
think is going to happen with Monica Rambeau?
Um. Well, we know she's gonna be in Captain Marvel 2. That was confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I didn't know who Tanoia Paris was prior to this. I probably mispronounced that name, uh, but I didn't know. Did not know her as an actress. I did know the others. I will say though, she impressed me a ton in this show. I thought she was
Mm-hmm.
great, and I can't wait to see Captain Marvel 2. What I think will happen, and I feel like she'll be fighting the scrolls because I know Marvel is planning on putting Secret Invasion with the scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
Me
And
personally, I haven't
that's
cared
something
yet.
I'm
Yeah,
curious about because like so far the scrolls are they seem friendly, so like I'm wondering if the whole friendliness is just a facade, or or maybe it's not gonna be the Kree. I mean, scrolls is gonna be maybe someone else like the Kree or uh some other species.
They just made the Kree the bad guys. They're like,
Yeah,
nah, let's just do it. Like the whole Captain Marvel, the whole first hour of the film and all the promotion was like scrolls are bad, but then randomly they're like, nah, they're pretty nice. They're nice people.
they're pretty good.
They're
You know,
chill if you
they're
get to know them.
chill.
You know,
You
they'll
know,
switch up
like
like how
so
what you
far
would do.
we don't have any super scrolls yet.
I will say though that post credit with Monica Rambeau and the scroll, I didn't really care about it too much. I wasn't like, oh, scroll. I was kind of like, well,
Like
we already saw that with Nick Fury. I don't really
I
care
was
too
more
much.
like when I saw it, it wasn't like a shocking thing. It was more like a it made me ponder what's next for Monica. And you
Yeah,
know, like so we know all right, like let's talk more about the timeline again. So I can't say like the beginning of WandaVision is supposed to be 2 weeks after Endgame, but what is the end of WandaVision? Like how long was that time period? Was it like another week, or we don't really. I mean, if we want to go off of like TV logic, uh, it took 9 weeks. you know,
oh wait, it
like if
did
we go
last
off,
9 weeks. Wait,
if we
wasn't it
if
8 weeks?
we
Because we got the first two episodes in 1 week, I think.
Oh yeah, we did. So 8 weeks. Like if we're using TV logic, since the in the show they aired episodes, so like and TV logic, an episode once a week. So we could say it was possibly 8 weeks long
I
of what
think
was going
the
on.
I think the real world events, I'm not sure. I could be wrong about this, but I think it all lasted like 8 or 9 days, like the whole Hex
Hmm.
thing. Also, let us read this one comment. I personally think the MCU is relying on past movies for character development a little too much and focus on expanding the universe more than having a confined story. Now, I do disagree. However, I will not lie. Sometimes some Marvel movies feel like they're just pushed to the side because of the whole universe. Like one big example
Hmm.
is Ant-Man and the Wasp. I know a lot of people love this movie, but me personally, I just felt like it was just another little tiny story in the MCU.
It
So
was like something that they just needed to get out there. Like, let's make a quick buck.
they're like, all right, so how can we have Ant-Man not show up in Infinity War and for the beginning of Endgame? Oh, I know. Let's just have this quick post-credit scene. But to make a post-credit scene, we gotta have an entire movie. So let's do that. And also let's tease something that's gonna be relying on Endgame, which is the
Uh-huh.
quantum realm. But I will say for the most part, like character-wise, I don't think it depends too much on prior films. But I will not lie, some movies get swept under the rug because of how big the MCU is.
And here's the thing about the MCU. With WandaVision, we kind of are now getting the opposite in a way. Like, how do I put it? Like, let me reread the comment. I personally think the MCU is reliant on past movie and character development. Well, they're starting to do character development without the need of past. With WandaVision, I feel like that's what they're starting to lean towards with the whole making it on Disney Plus as a TV series, because it doesn't necessarily rely exactly on the past because they're now creating new entire stories. Like I think that's the genius behind Kevin Feige. The Infinity Saga, the end of the Infinity Saga. Now we have a new beginning. You
Yeah.
know, and we're in uncharted territories now. What happened before doesn't matter. It's all about what's about to happen next. So in a way, I get what you're talking about, but I feel like that's kind of starting to change with how the MCU is running now.
Yeah, I like seeing these smaller stories. But I understand what you mean. Legion of Nerds is all subjective. I know in my
Hmm.
channel, most of my subscribers are against Marvel, or let me be specific, the MCU, because my popularity from this channel came from me uh, leading the Snyder Cut
DC.
movement,
Yeah.
especially the Snyder fans. But regardless, I like both. I like MCU. I like DC. I just think at the end of the day,
Mhm,
the best thing is to have the best movie possible. So I hate this Marvel DC corporate slave fanboy rivalry, but I do
mhm,
understand. Like I'm not gonna lie, there's some Marvel movies I hate that most people like. Like for example, Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's a movie I can't
mhm.
stand for the most part, even though it has actors I
Like
love. Uh,
that movie, if you don't mind me giving my 2 cents, like I I don't I watched that movie and I don't remember a single thing about it.
That is one thing. I remember the only thing I could really remember from Ant-Man and the Wasp was Quantum Realm, and it's gonna work in Endgame.
Mhm,
But now that we're already past Endgame, all I think is Endgame. I don't think, oh, remember Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like I remember a few days ago I was thinking of the movies in order, and when I remember I said Infinity War, and then I said Captain Marvel, and then I said Endgame. I was like, wait, I'm missing one movie. What was it? Oh yeah, that's right, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Uh,
yeah,
I do hate one thing. Um, I've always said that movies are obviously subjective. Everyone has their own experiences with them. But one thing I hated from critics after Ant-Man and the Wasp is they said, "Oh, it feels nice to have an MCU movie that's not depressing." And I hate when you review a movie based on another movie. It's like review the movie as its own separate thing. Like I don't review
mhm,
BVS because of Man of Steel. I review them as separate things. Like you know what I mean?
mhm.
Also, this has it's been an hour. That's I always like it when shows go for an hour. But here's a comment from Legion of Nerds. I think WandaVision is a step in the right direction, but also at the same time it highlights some of the MCU's problem. If you want, feel free to comment down below what are the problems you mean, because when you say problems, it's like what are they?
Like
This
I'm curious too,
yeah.
but
Uh,
actually more about WandaVision. Since I'm curious about Agatha, like more on Agatha. Like by the end of the series, Agatha is now supposed to be playing her role as the nosy neighbor, but the hex went down. Like
yeah.
I'm trying to get the logic of what happened. Wanda put Agatha back into I'm just gonna say back into her place, and then she put the hex down after. So is the spell that she put on Agatha separate from the hex, or did it just like did she just like made a huge mistake?
Yeah, like um I'm assuming that we'll see her back in Doctor Strange too. Maybe you have Wanda wanting to unlock some powers that she can't figure out or something, and she goes
Mhm.
to Agatha and she's still being the nosy neighbor. One thing I do wonder is the
Like,
people in Westview,
but
do they just see her as, oh, it's the weird girl who's still in the witch spell?
yeah,
Like
it's like
she's just still in
it's the
Westview. So
weird girl that manipulated things, but wait, what's going on here?
yeah,
Like, why is she still here?
she still lives in a sitcom. Question is, what sitcom exactly?
What's
Um
it called?
yeah, I have also another thing. It was one thing I didn't like but of episode 9, and one there was one little scene. Monica, I mean not Monica, Wanda goes back to Westview after she says goodbye to Vision and the kids, which is a really depressing scene. I did like that. Uh, but there's one moment where you see like all the citizens of Westview mad. They're like, "I want to kill her" or something like that. And then you
Hmm.
have Monica look at her directly and say, It's because they don't understand your grief." I was there like, well, obviously, if you have someone trapped for days in a sitcom reality where all they sense is sadness, of course they're gonna feel that way. And I didn't like how the show kind of made it seem like it was acceptable that she held people hostage for days or
Hmm.
maybe weeks. And it's like, Monica, you're lucky that you left like 4 episodes in.
Like they've been in there before you arrived and after.
Yeah.
For them,
And
it's been a minute.
yeah, I didn't like that whole sequence. Also, something in my final prediction video, one thing I stupidly didn't notice because sometimes I don't see the obvious. In episode 8, when Wanda first arrives in Westview, there's a big bald dude, and I remember I just saw him as a random dude. When I read my comments, one of them says, "Oh, that's Herb," and I'm like, "That's not Herb. Herb has an afro." And then eventually I found out it was him when they zoomed in on him. I was like, "Dang,
Mhm.
how do I not notice people because of hair?"
Like
Eh,
no, like I saw that. I saw what you. I get what you mean because like when I saw him, like how does he look so different from like his whole like look just entirely changed. Like
I
I'm like
wonder if
looks
I think more than
different.
likely it was a wig, but is there a possibility that they shot
I think
scenes
his
with him with
beard
the
was
hair?
gone too.
Yeah, his beard was gone. Was there shots where they told him or grow your hair? Oh wait, no. There's probably shots. Well, okay, I'm messing this up. Why am I messing up? Okay, so do you think there's a possibility that he had long hair and they told him, "Oh, just shave off your hair so you can look different in another scene"?
Yeah, probably.
I think it was more than likely it was just a wig, but I'm not lying when I say this. When I saw him bald, I just didn't recognize him.
It's like
It was funny is when I got that in
it,
the comment, I had to eventually in episode 9 I saw him zoomed in. I'm like eyes, ears, but I'm like there's a beard. I can't really tell too much. I'm like, dang, hair changes a person.
yeah.
uh
Um, but here's actually something I don't know if you noticed. I feel like maybe I'm the only, one of the only ones who like thought this when I saw this scene. But the ending scene, we have it like zoomed. We have zoomed out from the mountains, and he's just going through into the small house that Wanda's in now by the end of the series. But that whole sequence, I'm like, this is the Incredible Hulk. like,
oh yeah, you have the
like
scene.
the whole Zen thing. Like, I'm like, is this the same mountains? Like, did she go to the same place? Like, I need to find my Zen.
You know what
like,
would have
Hulk.
been a cool way to introduce the multiverse in that scene is if in that cabin you see Wanda doing what she was doing originally, but in the corner in a chair you have Edward Norton right there, like still there, and you're like, wait a minute, like
What?
Edward Norton
Hold
was still
up.
hiding there while Mark Ruffalo was going to be the Hulk of that universe, and now there's two Hulks.
Yeah. No, it's just I just thought that was interesting. I'm not sure. Like, it just looked the whole sequence looked the same, and the landscape looked exactly the same. It was like grassy field, and then snow, and then a
Yeah,
cabin. I'm like,
uh, I
she went
think
to the same place, didn't she?
I think I'm not sure. I don't remember too much because I haven't seen the episode again. But I think they zoom in on her eyes, like they did
Mm-hmm.
Incredible Hulk, and then you hear the kids say "Mom," and then you have Wanda kind of like her eyes glow or something. I could be wrong about that, but
Mm-hmm.
I have to rewatch the episode. But let me get this comment from Legion of Nerds. Even though WandaVision was new, it had the hint of the same tone as every other MCU movie. It connected things that didn't need to be, like Jimmy. He was cool, but what was the point of him being there? My response to that is I will not lie. You are right about that. That it did have the hint of, oh, this is in the MCU, or what the MCU typically does, like the comedy and everything like that. But the whole Jimmy, like, what's the point of being there? It's like you can say the same about every actor or in any movie at all. It's like, what's the point of them
Mm-hmm.
being there? Like, what's the
I
point of
feel like
Elizabeth Olsen? And like, it's like I don't agree with that, but I understand what you mean.
I feel like
I'm not trying
I feel
to.
like I feel like that is like it's just it's the whole like comic book feel. Like occasionally in comic books, like you'll get a comic where a whole other like a Spider-Man comic. It's about Spider-Man, but maybe
Yeah,
Cap will just show up like, "How you doing, kid?" Like he has no point in being there
kind of like in
other than to just be
like
there, like just to have a little nod of his existence.
yeah,
And I feel like that's Jimmy Woo in WandaVision or Darcy Lewis in WandaVision. These
yeah.
characters exist. They're not important, but it's still Wanda's story, but it's still kind of just making sure like this is the MCU. This is we haven't gone to a different universe yet.
When you said that, it instantly reminded me of Homecoming, where you have a Cap like being like the
Yeah.
P program, like he
So
sits with his chair right there.
you got in detention.
Imagine like if I was a detention teacher, even though I'm not in the MCU, obviously, I would put that clip. I was like, so you got in detention. Like just imagine like that detention would be fun just seeing the whole footage of that.
Yeah.
The fact that
Oh.
Chris Evans had to sign an extra contract just to show up for like a minute was the funniest thing. And they also even referenced things like I think at one point Ned asked Peter, "It's like, did you get to meet Hulk?" Or wait, no, he said something like, "How does this Hulk smell?" And then I think at one point Peter is like, I got to grab Cap's shield" or something like that. Uh,
Hmm.
that's actually why I love Homecoming a lot, where it's like you're feeling what a high schooler feels in the MCU. Like
Hmm.
imagine being a high schooler in a world where gods and heroes exist and billionaires with giant
Hmm.
machines and stuff like just imagine like you're just chilling in
And
high school and you get news that Sokovia got attacked.
yeah, like to my knowledge, that's what I like. At least to my knowledge, there's supposed to be like two paths that the MCU is going. We're gonna have like more grounded problems and then cosmic problems. Like
Yeah.
we know that Kang the Conqueror is supposed to make an appearance in
Oh
the
man, I
next
forgot
Ant
what
Man
was the
movie,
actor.
and Kang the Conqueror. I don't know, like if anyone in the audience have ever watched the cartoon Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It got canceled after its I think second season, but his whole thing was like it took all the core members to go against Kang, and the only
Yeah.
reason why they won was because Iron Man was being a genius and figured out future technology. But I want to see how they do things without Iron Man. Or like this is the perfect way to bring Reed Richards because
Yeah.
King of the Conqueror's identity. I mean, this might be spoiler, but this there's spoiler warnings in this, right?
I mean, it does legit say spoiler discussion.
Okay, so King of the Conqueror's identity is a descendant of Reed Richards.
Yeah.
So having King the Conqueror, whose name is Nathaniel Richards, it's like, so where's Granddaddy at? Like that's how we know the Fantastic Four will be arriving because if we have already confirmed King the Conqueror, that means we have to have his grandfather, right?
Yeah, I just googled it real quick. Jonathan Majors, who was in Lovecraft County, he has been cast as Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man 3. I think it
Hmm.
was called Quantumania.
Yeah. See,
I'm surprised that he
because
was going to be introduced
someone
in
pointed
Ant-Man.
out the his city, Kang City in the
Yeah,
quantum realm. I'm like, ooh, that's
yeah.
exciting.
I really wonder how they're gonna like. Are they just gonna have him like pop up in the quantum city that he was? I forgot what was it called in the comics. Do you happen to remember it? Also, wait, we just got a comment.
It's like Topia. Like I think it ends with some of the Topia.
Yeah. All right. Let's read. Phase one MCU had a charm that the other phases are mostly missing. It has the same overall tone, but there's something in phase one that I can't put my finger on. That's what she said. That isn't the other phases. I will say phase one did feel more grounded. It's funny because we legit got introduced to Asgard in phase one, but it still felt really grounded, especially that Iron Man 1 film. I will
Well,
say I can't blame Marvel for changing because it's like you're introducing all these cosmic characters. You got Captain Marvel, you got Thanos, you got all these characters in the future. So I can't blame them for not staying grounded. Uh, Personally, the phase one, as much as I love it, I think it's smart that they change it up because you can't stay with the same film. It's like it's the reason why we don't have more than 3 Dark Knight films.
hmm
What's your thoughts on
no.
that, Ethan?
See, I feel like the whole change. It I feel like the change was needed. I think because it's like think about it this way. It's like how would it's not as fun if your character is like is stagnant, fighting the same level threat of an enemy, and never progressing its their own strength. It's like, do you think Iron Man from the first film would ever stand a chance against fighting Ultron in the Age of Ultron movie? No, because he
Yeah.
wasn't ready. And he just kept getting stronger. And it's like Dragon Ball. I don't know if you know much about Dragon Ball, but
Nah, I
Dragon Ball,
know it.
like in the beginning of the series, it's all like pretty low level, but they kept having to introduce stronger characters because the character kept overcoming the problem. And that's, I feel like that in a way that's the same way with the MCU. Like actually, even Marvel comics, Thor's character was introduced to Marvel comics because they needed someone stronger than the Hulk. That was
Yeah.
like his whole reason. That was the whole reason for Asgard's introduction into the Marvel comics, was because Hulk was too strong, so they needed someone to like take him down a peg.
Also, I got something to point out. My favorite MCU movie. Everyone gets surprised when I say this, but Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite MCU movie. I don't think it's possible to make that movie grounded. Like it's way too cosmic to make it seem realistic and grounded, especially when you have a talking tree, a talking raccoon, a green girl, and a legit guy who's shirtless and has like pink and I think it's great. But there's this one comic I mean comments that I found interesting. Well, I mean, Snyder made Superman and Doomsday grounded. My response to that is, well, that's because Zack Snyder got to be in charge for 2 films. Uh, the MCU is more than just one director. There's a difference between Feige and Snyder. Feige is a producer, while Snyder is a director, which is two very
Mm-hmm.
different things. And I don't think it's fair to say that, but I will say I respect Snyder for making BVS feel as grounded as it was, even though it was a global catastrophe kind of film. And there's another comment he made saying, but not everyone is Snyder. Snyder is one of my favorite directors in Hollywood at the moment. But that is just my way of interpreting where I just think MCU has multiple directors for their own multiple versions. I think it would be nearly impossible to make the films feel grounded. And not only that, but I don't think a grounded film makes it a good film. I think you can make cosmic films. Like I said earlier, Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite MCU film because
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's not grounded, but you know, it's very cosmic and I love that about it. What are your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
on that, Ethan?
Well, this one's kind of hard because like for me, I always like to relate the movies to comics, and I think that's probably one of my issues is because I do that too much.
Yeah.
So, like, I love grounded stories and I love cosmic stories, and I feel like there you can do both without it interfering with each other. Uh,
Yeah.
like Batman. There's some pretty cosmic moments with Batman, but he
Especially when
is a
he killed
grounded
Darkseid.
character, especially especially when he killed Darkseid in the comics. But
Yeah.
and you can do the same in the movies. It's just it all really depends on what producers or directors are willing to go.
Yeah.
You know.
I'll my favorite comic book films. I'm just gonna say a few of them: BVS, Dark Knight, Logan, Spider-Man 2. They're all pretty grounded. But as much as I love those films, I think I'm the biggest defender of BVS there's ever been. I even though I love those films a ton, I'm glad that we don't just get those same films over and over again. Like having these different kind of cosmic films, I feel like it freshens up the comic book genre, especially because I
Hmm.
think in a way the reason why the comic book genre is so popular nowadays is because of how different each movie is. Like Logan feels different from Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy feels different from The Dark Knight, and I kind of really love how it's like it's a weird funny mixture just like in the comics how you had like these different stories, and I think that's what makes
Hmm.
the comic book genre so successful right now. And
Just
yeah, Legion of
because
Nerds,
there's different
I
stories.
yeah, Legion of Nerds, I do agree with you. I love grounded characters. I mean, Batman is my favorite fictional character of all time, but you know, I still want to see different characters. Like I don't want to see the same Batman over and over again. I want to see Nova. I want to see Captain Marvel. Although I'm not the biggest Captain Marvel fan, but I still want to see other different kinds of characters too. Like, you know what I
And there's
mean?
also there's also I feel like people sometimes don't realize this. There are cosmic characters with grounded stories. I mean, like Nova, for example. Nova in the comics, like I guess let me start with Kid Nova. His
Yeah,
whole thing, he is a cosmic type power, but he's dealing with normal like human level issues, trying to he wants to become popular with the superheroes. Like he loves Spider-Man, but
yeah,
like the first time he met Spider-Man, it was at the worst time possible because it wasn't Peter, it was Dr. Octavius in Spider-Man's body. So it's like, oh, he's kind of mean, but like, cosmic characters, grounded issues.
Yeah.
You can do that, and it's just like I said before, it's all just about what directors are willing to do or what they're allowed to do.
Yeah, like Snyder's very grounded, which is what I love a lot about his comic book films. But I wouldn't mind a James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy film that doesn't feel too grounded, or
Hmm.
a even like films like I would say Infinity War and Endgame, where it doesn't really, especially Infinity War, it doesn't feel too grounded, and that's I'm fine with that, and sometimes they could even be better than some grounded films. Like,
Hmm.
yeah. Also, I just now remember, just right now, that Catherine Hahn, who's Agatha, she actually was in another Marvel film, not in the MCU, but she was a female Doc Ock in Into the Spider-Verse, which is something I just now remembered.
Oh, I was trying to think of like, where else
Yeah.
was she? Oh,
So now I guess
that's cool.
she is part of the multiverse, because now we know there's two different versions of her in Marvel. Uh, but yeah, also one question. I know we already asked Catherine Hahn, like, what did we think of her performance, but I feel like we forgot one thing. And what's your thoughts on the performance of Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, who are both Vision and Wanda?
The Shia LaBeouf clapping where he just like starts off slow, and then that's what I think of their performance.
I think they were
It was
both
great.
great, especially Paul Bet.
Like,
The fact that they could go from sitcoms to serious moments to sad moments, like, a lot of people don't respect actors enough, but to go from all those different emotions and feelings, I think
hmm
that deserves a lot of credit, especially from
I
Paul
feel
Bettany
like,
and Juan and Elizabeth.
and I feel like a lot of people don't realize how difficult it might actually be. Like, being an actor is hard, but
Yeah.
I feel like doing fiction is even harder because like you have to think about what these actors like, what kind type of room these actors are in. They're just in a room full of green. That's really all they're in. Like, it's just like they look at somebody, like, think about guard,
Oh
you
man.
know, uh like Bradley Cooper. I think that's the actor who plays Rocket.
Yeah, that
He
is.
wasn't even really there, and the person like so imagine like having to look at pretty much nothing, pretend like there's a person there, and to have all this emotion over something that isn't even can even possibly be real, but you have to like pretend and make it feel like it's real. It's difficult. Fiction,
Yeah.
especially like acting in a fictional world, is difficult.
Especially these big, like, expensive comic book, these big sci-fi films that cost so much money with so much green screen, so much special effect.
Hmm.
Those films, like, a lot of people always say, "Oh, but CGI exists." Well, CGI, doesn't fix everything, and acting, like, especially when you act like you pretending to be somebody else, like being like a Heath Ledger Joker, those performances are so impossible. Like, how many times have we said in other movies where, like, this actor sucks? Like, you also have to worry about the pressure of what other people think. Like, what if you give your, like, every actor? I know a lot of people say some actors are lazy, like Bruce Willis nowadays, and Jennifer Lawrence. But at the end of the day, even doing bad performances, those are majorly hard to do, because everybody gives their A game. Like, me personally, I know if someone put me in front of a camera, I wouldn't be able to handle the pressure of playing
Hmm.
somebody who's not me. Like, you know what I mean?
You have to give me like a while to prepare.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
give me a
um,
year.
Here's a comment. When do you think they're going to fully bring in Howard the Duck? Because they've been teasing it for a long time. I think it's possible that he was going to be in Endgame, but they cut him out. Actually, we do. You can't see him in the background. There is a scene where you can zoom in and Howard the Duck is there. So we do know that Howard fought with
He's
the
just
Avengers.
he's just chilling in the back. He's just like, I want to see what they do. Like, I've been locked up in a cage for years by a weird dude named the Collector. I just wanna see how things go.
Uh, I remember I obviously didn't see Howard the Duck the first time watching Endgame. Actually, I didn't get to see it until I saw finally a zoomed in picture. But I
Um,
remember when I first saw it, I'm like, oh my god, Howard the Duck fought with the
Howard's
Avengers.
fighting.
Like everyone keeps saying, "Oh, Spider Man's back, Black Panther's back, everyone's back," but no one mentions
Don't
Howard the
forget
Duck.
Howard,
It's like we gotta make Howard the Duck the next Iron Man.
right?
Like
It's
have
like
him be the center of the MCU.
we
Oh
gotta
yeah,
make him the next legend.
I'm not gonna lie. I saw the Howard the Duck movie a few months back just to refresh my mind. I'm not gonna lie, it's not as bad as I remembered it being. Like it's bad to me personally, at least, but I thought it was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Ton of duck
No,
puns.
something I actually wanted to go over with you is how do you think an actual fight with Doctor Strange and WandaVision might go? I mean, WandaVision, Wanda might go.
A
Uh,
tag team battle with Wanda and Vision against Strange.
it's like, well, Vision might pop up, but we don't know whose side he's gonna take.
White Vision. Uh, I think obviously that's gonna be a lot of CGI. Uh,
Yeah,
a lot of spells, sorcery
because I
stuff
was
like
just
that.
going over like their I was kind of going over just from what I know about them in the comics and what I've kind of figured out from the movies. Like the thing is, something that I've really noticed: almost every Marvel character in the MCU is so depowered from their their comic book counterparts. It's insane. Because
Yeah.
comic book Spider-Man will probably one shot MCU Spider-Man. And
Also,
like uh, the only characters that haven't really got that depowered are characters that it's almost unnoticeable if they have.
yeah.
Like Black Widow, she's been depowered, but it's hard to notice because most people don't know what she can do in the comics. They only know her from the movies.
It's like Hawkeye. Everyone keeps making the joke like Hawkeye is basically just a guy with a bow and arrow, and everyone's like, "What if Hawkeye runs out of bow and arrows?" Like
Like
he's now a running gag.
it's like he's so cool in the comics though. Like he's ah, it's depressing.
I will not lie, Hawkeye. I know this is a surprise, but in both Age of Ultron and Endgame, Hawkeye was my favorite character.
Of course.
Especially that very beginning of Endgame where you see him going rogue, you see him feel it feels like he's like Green Arrow or something like that. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Also, everyone we forgot to mention
Where'd you
wait,
go?
wait, hold up. Oh man, I accidentally pressed it. Okay, everyone look at the background to Ethan's uh
What's
uh
up?
room. Like you see all these posters. I honestly if I turned my camera over there, I would have a good look. But
you would
sadly,
you would be
right here.
surprised about the amount of comic book or just comic stuff I have in this room.
Yeah. Let me
Just like
actually
this
show
this
you
whole
again.
side of my room, just
Yeah.
geek.
Yeah, my room, I'm about to put it. You got BVS, Star Wars, Back to the Future, wait, there's Aquaman, Infinity War, uh, Marvel right there. I also have Into the Spider Verse right there. That's actually my
Uh-huh.
motivational poster. Uh, and also I have a giant collection of movies somewhere over there. My comics, though, sadly, my comics I don't have them here. I have them in the attic because I honestly haven't read comics in a while. But uh,
I actually have all my comics hanged up on my wall.
yeah, I remember Pedro told me that you have like a giant collection of Funko Pops.
Yeah, like
I
I'm looking at them right
honestly,
now.
if I had money, I would honestly get all the Funko Pops I could get. Like just have a giant wall of
you
Funko Pops.
actually you want to see them?
I mean, sure.
I don't
Also,
mind
I gotta
showing.
show y'all. I also have a Baby Yoda right there, and a Wonder
Yes.
Woman 84 bucket right there, and a Superman and Lois magazine cover.
No.
Yeah,
All right. So I'm willing to show.
yeah. All right,
Who?
we're gonna go for 20 more minutes because I'm gonna have to uh, end this soon. That looks like an amazing shrine. Like I would want that.
All right, so like we got arachnite, superior octopus, silk, spider armor, MK, iron hammer. You know, then my more grounded. You see the comic books in the back.
Yeah,
Dark Phoenix. Then I'm an anime geek too, so I got some Dragon Ball, pops, and then more Dragon Ball, and then more comics on the wall. Batman is my favorite, so I actually made this art for my skateboard, and then a Funko Pop down here for Batman. And then I don't. This is something that most people don't know about or talk about, but Green Hornet. I got I got about four Green Hornet comics.
yo,
And that's kind of
that's
the
actually a
extent.
smart idea. I should probably tape some of my comic books like in the walls.
Yeah. No, actually, and then I paint. So I have this Black Panther painting that I made.
So everyone who's watching this, y'all make sure right here on the front, and it will be in the description. Go subscribe to the Real Chosen One. He talks more than just movies. He talks about video games, comics. So y'all make sure to subscribe to him.
I've
Also,
been I've been a little inactive for the last few months, but
yeah,
you know, I
hey, it's fine.
the film geek here has been asking for my return,
Yeah,
so I'll be coming back.
technically, this is your return right now.
This is my return. This is my return debut.
So we just got this
I'm out of
comment.
water.
Uh, can't believe they whitewashed Vision. Right? I
Darn
think it
it.
was a year ago. The Oscars, all the Oscar nominees were all white guys. So there was this hashtag called hashtag Oscar so white. There's this whole controversy over the Oscars being racist and all that. So I feel like that's something Twitter would put out. Like, but then again, if they were to put Vision as black, wouldn't that also be blackface? So it's like it's a lose-lose
Hmm.
situation.
No, like I feel I don't want to get like too deep into this topic, but like
Yeah.
it's in a way like I don't get uh like I get it and don't get it. It's like the race changes for like comic book characters mainly. Like I don't really care much for anything else. Comic books are just my world, and comic book movies are my world. So like when they like change the race of a character in a comic for a movie, it's like sometimes it works, and then sometimes it's like I feel like it probably would have fit better if they stick with the original, you know,
Yeah.
the original race. But it's a hit or miss, really. Like I don't feel too strongly about it, but I could see where it could miss.
My thoughts on race swap is I'm fine with it as long as it doesn't change like what the character is. Like for example, Black Panther obviously should never be changed as white because that doesn't make sense.
Uh huh.
Batman is also a character who I'm like should always be white because you kind of feel like that sense of privilegeness with
Hmm.
like him. So there are some characters who I'm like, if you change their race, it doesn't make sense for the story. But
Hmm.
there are also characters who I'm like, if you change their race, it doesn't really matter. Like James Bond, there's
That's what
been
I mean.
yeah, like Idris Elba, he was for a while rumored to be James Bond, but he decided to reject it. A lot of people were mad when that rumor came out, but to me, James Bond never really mattered because really all you have to
His
be is a
race
good
never
spy.
mattered.
Yeah,
It's like Agent 47 and Hitman. Would you
yeah,
get mad if he was just randomly a different race?
and
I mean, Agent 47 is just Agent 47. He has no name. He is whoever he needs to be. He like if you want to get into it, he'll pretend to be whatever, and
yeah,
it's just like it's a it's a factor that doesn't matter.
yeah. It's like a Superman. I know since over here we're all comic book movie fans. The Superman thing, the reason why I didn't care much about Superman being I don't know if you've heard, but we're getting a black Superman
No,
with J.J.
I've
Abrams.
heard of it.
Yeah,
I'm on the side of being excited about it.
yeah.
You know.
The reason why I don't mind race swap is because yes, obviously, what most people see in Superman is a white man. However, it never really mattered to his story. Like, it's not like a crucial part. Like, he's an
Hmm.
alien Kryptonian being, and his race never mattered to me. And it was the same thing that happened with Supergirl. Now, I know I'm gonna sound biased with Supergirl because I'm Hispanic, obviously. Uh, Sasha Kaya came in and she's gonna be Supergirl, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, but she's Hispanic and Supergirl's Hispanic." I have two things on this. Number one, Supergirl's like Superman, where Kryptonian being, alien being, race never matter. And second, Hispanics look white, so it's like you just dye
Hmm.
your hair and it doesn't really matter.
Like
Like I look pretty white right
I.
now.
All right, so like with the whole like, I really hope it is Michael B. Jordan, but the whole
That,
thing with that is that there is literally a black Superman
yeah,
in the comics, and they're not making. I don't think they're making Kal El black. I
yeah,
think they're just going with that character from that storyline. Who like I can get like people's irritation if they were making Kal El Superman black, but I don't think that's what's happening here. I think it's the Earth 2 Superman from the comics.
yeah. I
Uh,
think his name in the comics is Calvin Ellis. I think it's that.
yeah,
I would have to
and
Google that, but yeah,
and from what I know, he's actually supposed to be stronger than Kal El.
yeah.
I'm
Um,
not exactly sure on that one, but I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, all I really said was, uh, to me, it doesn't matter because it's never been part of Superman's identity to be white. He
Hmm.
could be
His
Indian,
race
he could be
never
Asian.
mattered.
Yeah, he could be anything really, and I wouldn't care as long as you give me a good Superman and a good film. Just give me an actor
Hmm.
who's talented. Like my dream casting would be Michael B. Jordan because I think each year he gets better and better with all his films. Like,
I just love Michael B. Jordan. Like
yeah,
I don't think there's really a single film. You know, can we like just like can I edit uh Fantastic Four as the exception? Like there's
you
not
mean
really a single
Fantastic?
movie. Yeah, there's not a single movie that I've seen other than
Yeah.
that Michael B. Jordan didn't do a good job in.
Yeah, to me, race swapping didn't matter. The only worry I had from the race, well, not really from the race swap, but from hearing this was why are we worrying about
Like I
Elseworld
don't
stories
yeah.
when we still have to have the rest of the DCU? And I guess I'm biased because obviously Henry Cavill is my favorite live action Superman. I probably
I mean
mispronounced his last name too,
I
but
mean he has the chin for it.
yeah. But regardless, if let's any actor who comes in, regardless of race, if they give me a good Superman story, I'm happy because at the end of the day, that just means we get another great Superman story. And I
Yeah.
feel like
Like
it's
my
time.
argument
Uh, uh,
sorry, go ahead. I was about to
uh,
cut you off. Go
All
ahead.
right, I'll just say something quick. I think it's time we finally get Superman back in cinema because I know it's been this long, and I know if I feel old when I say this, but we have not had a Superman movie since 2013 with Man of
Hmm.
Steel, and you know, to me, Superman has been so disrespected past 2017 that I think it's time we bring in a Superman. Well, uh, it's time we bring in a Superman story that everyone loves, like whether he's
Hmm.
the J.J. Abrams Black Superman or Henry Cavill's Man of Steel too. I think his last name is Cavill. I could be mispronouncing that, but
It's one of
regardless, I just want to see a great story.
those. Hmm. No, to both add on to what you said, the whoops, I just like lost my train of thought. But
Yeah,
I had 2 points I wanted to make, but the one of them is that yeah, I've recently started watching and like getting more into Superman because like I used to always like for the longest I'm like, what's even the point with Superman? But like, the thing is, I feel like the only reason why I was like that was because I never really really looked at it. I never really tried to analyze his character, and it wasn't until I watched this one animated film called All Star Superman where I'm like, Superman's awesome.
yeah,
like like man, he's awesome, and I want to see a live action, you know, show how awesome he is, not just like, everybody jokes around. He's the Boy Scout, or he can just fit. Why is there ever even a problem? Isn't he the strongest character in DC? Like, there's
Yeah.
more to it.
My
There's so much more to his character.
my relationship with Superman. I think I was 8 when I began being a Superman fan. It was because I got introduced to the Christopher Reeve films, and then eventually I started reading comics and watching the Justice League animated series. So I started loving Superman, but it wasn't until 2013. So I was 11 years old, I think. We go to the theaters with my parents, and I wanted to watch Man of Steel. And Man of Steel kind of became the first movie I ever watched that made me change my perspective on movies. Like before then, movies were just, oh, fun, good time. But when I watched Man of Steel, it changed my way of thinking of what a movie can do. Like I think a movie can inspire people. And Man of Steel became that movie that inspired me. And it was like the first ever movie in general that, even though Spider-Man 2, and I
Mm-hmm.
know all those movies came prior, but Man of Steel was the film that I'm like, oh my god, movies can change you, and I guess that's why I'm such a big movie fan now. But yeah, that's just how I kind of became a real Superman fan, and I've always said this. Even though Batman is my favorite fictional character of all time, uh, there's one character who, if you disrespect, I'm really furious with it, and that's Superman. Because to me, he's the granddaddy of superheroes in general. He was the
Mm-hmm.
first superhero. He's the biggest superhero because, let's be honest, I don't think anyone can look at the Superman symbol and not think, "Oh, that's Superman." And that's actually why I hated
It's
the CW,
it's
because they
it's
just
not
treated it. Yeah,
it's not something that, like, you can take the Superman emblem to any country in the world, and they'll know that's Superman.
yeah. And the CW. You've watched the CW, do you?
Mm-hmm.
The Um, I mean, not Batman. Superman in the Supergirl series was turned into a jobber where he's just beating up, and the whole time he's like, "Oh my god, Supergirl, you're so much stronger than me." And I was like, "Okay, that you can disrespect anyone, but when you disrespect Superman, that's where I'm like, yep, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not watching this anymore."
like like the thing with that aspect, from what I there was this one movie uh that was originally, a comic, but it was a animated movie. uh I think it was called Justice League Doomsday, or Superman and Supergirl uh Apocalypse, or something like that. But like, the whole thing is that she was stronger, but he was more experienced.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
just didn't like how in the Supergirl CW show they just brought in Superman to be like, "Oh, look, she's stronger than Superman." And
yeah,
it's like,
it was like,
I'm fine
he
if
could
you
have
bring
did
it.
that himself, right?
Yeah, like I'm fine if you bring in Superman and say that Supergirl's stronger. My problem
But
is
don't
when the
don't
only
make him like weak.
yeah, like if the only sole purpose you brought Superman was for is just to turn him into a jobber, that's where I'm like, okay, no, don't, nah, that's too much
Mm-hmm.
disrespect for the granddaddy of superheroes. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
this actually reminds me of when in 2016, back in Twitter and Instagram, on all social media, it was hashtag Team Superman, hashtag Team Batman. I remember I was so conflicted on it because I'm like, they're my two favorite heroes, and even though I do love Batman more, I'm like, I don't want to team up against Superman. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
um, also, this is
This has
a
probably been the longest stream I've been in so far.
yeah, an hour
That
42
that's
minutes.
that's me and the film geek.
Hey, if
When
it's
we
movies,
get talking, when we get talking.
yeah, I'm telling you, when I talk about movies, I go on and on, whether it's like Back to the Future or Lord of the Rings. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can go hours and hours just talking nonstop, even if I'm repeating the same thing. And especially
I can
comic book
do
films.
I could do the same with like video games.
It's like Captain America. I can do this all day.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Just like the shield just.
Like I'm telling you, when I talk about movies, I annoy everyone, like my family, and then like some of my friends. Like they'll eventually be like, "Okay, could you like shut up? Could we talk about something that matters?"
Yeah.
uh, um, I only own Killing Joke and Arkham Asylum, a series house on a series Earth in the comics department, but I have read a lot of comics on DC Universe. Now, I will not lie, I prefer DC Comics over Marvel Comics, but I'm not biased. Like I'm not like I'm only gonna read DC because I hate Marvel. And
Hmm.
it's the same thing with movies where even though I prefer Snyder's DCU over all the other comic book films, um, I still am like, all right, I'm gonna give you a chance regardless. And I love the MCU, and it's one thing I just hate about the Marvel DC fandom or any fandom really, where it's like instead of just appreciating greatness while it lasts, you're just kind
Hmm.
of like head to head, and it's kind of like I know I'm about to get into sports talks, and I don't know if you get in sports, but Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, back then, there was this big debate. And nowadays, the people who hated one or the other, it's like now they appreciate each other. And it's like in the future, when let's say the MCU and DCU, if it ever dies down, I feel like people will finally just appreciate each other. Like recently,
Hmm.
BVS has been appreciated by so many people. Like there's people who hated BVS, like me. I hated BVS when the first 2 years, but I started loving it back in 2018 when the Ultimate Cut came out, and I feel like now a lot of people are just appreciating greatness when it lasts. Like, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Like this is how I've seen DC and Marvel. Like I think it's obvious that I love both,
Yeah,
but like I know that this is like how I compare the two with certain mediums, like comic books. I feel like they're equal, like the equal in quality,
yeah,
but they have different tones. Usually they have different tones. I've always said that, you know, or at least it's easy on the outs from the outside perspective to see DC be more darker in tone
yeah,
in comics than Marvel, but there's been some pretty dark Marvel stuff too. But so that's why, like, unless if you really pay attention, they're pretty equal in quality. But then this is how I see like video games. Marvel video games, eh. DC video games, pretty good. Like they're like the only good Marvel games that they really I've seen is usually Spider-Man games. But DC, they've done, well, Batman, but they're also still working on things that I feel like might actually come out good. And then we have animated movies. Marvel really don't doesn't really do animated movies.
yeah,
Like they have a few, but they do more animated uh, TV shows rather than animated movies. The animated DC movies, masterpieces. I could watch them 1,000 times.
yeah,
And then this is my, all of this is just my opinion, but like Marvel movies, they usually just work. They and then DC films a lot of there's more bad than good, but there is good. So like I don't like it when people just like look at DC films like they're all trash. I'm like, no, they have good things going. It's just like if like my opinion, if Snyder was allowed to carry out his vision all the way through, it would have been perfect. There wouldn't have been a whole bunch of like mishaps that they've made, but Snyder didn't get what he wanted.
yeah.
So neither will all the DC fans.
Yeah. I'm not gonna name drop them, but I think you'll know who I'm talking about. In our friend group, there's some of our friends who are very biased on one side,
Hmm.
and like they don't even give the other side a chance. I'm not gonna name them, but I think you know what I'm talking about. But um, I always get annoyed when I talk to them about movies because it's like, what's the point of being a corporate slave fanboy? Like, I understand. Like, for example, I know a lot of people, so many people who hate Snyder's universe, but I think at the end of the day, it's just give them a chance. Just like watch the movie, and
Hmm.
if it's not for you, then you're not gonna like it. Like, for example, I don't like the Star Wars prequels, but I still gave them a chance, and I'm not like, oh, I'll never watch it because I love the original. No, I gave them a chance, and it's the same with Star Trek, where even though I'm a big Star Wars fan, I'm a bigger Star Wars fan than I am Star Trek. I still gave Star Trek a chance because at the end of the day, you can't really have an opinion if you don't at least watch or consume whatever they're giving you. And at the end of the day, worshiping one corporate, it's like you do realize these are people making money off of you liking a company. It's like at the end of the day, it's like, what are you winning from not liking one because you're supporting the other? It's like this ain't politics, this ain't religion, it's comic book and movies. It's not that it's not that crucial to be
Mm,
one-sided. Like, you know what I mean?
mm, yeah.
Like I remember I
Like
was called a bandwagon
you
just for
don't,
liking
you,
both.
you don't win anything by liking this one thing. You don't win anything. You actually lose.
Yeah.
You lose the opportunity of seeing something that might have actually changed your perspective.
Arkham Origins has my favorite story ever and includes movies too. I like it more than my favorite movie, BVS. I will not lie.
The
I'm
Arkham
not too
series
big
is
of a
fantastic.
gamer. I'm not the biggest gamer out there. I apologize, Ethan, but um,
Hey,
I never played the Arkham games. However, I have seen them like as a movie cutscene, like all of that.
uh-huh.
And I love Arkham. I love the Arkham. Like anytime I talk about Arkham, the Arkham Knight games, everyone thinks, "Oh, you that means you played all the games." No, I just watched the movie cutscenes,
I just watched them.
and
No,
I love it.
like
Like
I could talk about Arkham
yeah,
all day.
like
I
the
could, I,
warehouse
like I
scene
could
in
I could probably go a whole day explaining every single game to you in chronological order.
yeah, the warehouse scene in BVS. I remember watching it the first time in theaters. I was like, Arkham Knight, Arkham Knight. I can legit see the buttons, like the Y, X, everything for some reason, like in the warehouse scene.
uh,
Yes, I mean, I wish I could play them, but I'm like, I just suck at video games. Like, I did play Spider-Man PS4. I love Spider-Man PS4, but
mhm.
uh, I and I sadly bought the Avengers PS4 game, which sucks.
See, that's why I didn't talk about it when I was comparing games, because like Avengers is like I haven't played it, so I can't say much. But all I've heard about it isn't good things.
Yeah, and I don't even
Like it
understand
looks
why I
it
bought
looks like a
it.
good it looks like a good game,
Yeah,
but
I remember I
it's
was
not.
excited for it, but like, if I'm excited for a video game, that means the promotion's doing something right. Uh,
Uh-huh.
And I remember after playing the Avengers when I finished, I'm like, man, I could have bought the Arkham games because they're cheaper now than they were back then. I'm like, I could have
Mhm.
used this. I think it was like 50, 60
You
ish
could you
bucks.
could get the Arkham collection for like $20, I think, or 30.
I will say this though. I did play the Injustice Gods Amongst Men second video game.
Mhm.
The Injustice storyline to me is one of my favorite comic
And
book
they have
storylines of all
comics.
time.
It
Yeah.
has comics along with it, so I'm like, yeah, I get it. I love those games.
Like, I went to go watch BVS the first, like, Thursday midnight when it first came out.
Hmm.
Um, I remember the fans going crazy when Nightmare Batman and Nightmare Superman were there. I remember I
Hmm.
heard, like, this guy, like, near me being like, "Injustice, injustice," and it was like, I'm telling you, there's nothing better than an opening midnight premiere, or not premiere, opening release. Even though I hated BVS back then, uh, I still enjoyed that. Like, all the fans,
Hmm.
like, just like, that's what I love about movies, where, or especially going to the theaters, where all the fans are just together and enjoying a great film. Like, I remember when we went to go watch Endgame together, you were talking to the girl next to you all about Steph and Endgame.
I had no idea who she was. Like that's what I
Yeah,
loved about watching Endgame with everybody. Like in the movie is like you know when Tony died, I'm like I'm tearing up. I'm like,
I remember
and
Pedro laughing
I
at you for
look. Yeah, he
that.
did. I looked over at this girl. Like I guess she was with you. I think I
Yeah,
looked
I
at
didn't
her
know her
and
at all.
she was crying too. And I'm like, I know. Like that's the thing about like seeing it in theaters. Like both Infinity War and Endgame. The movies, like when I went into the theater, I never seen so many people express the same emotion at the
And
same time.
and the funny thing is it wasn't even the opening day. That's how big Endgame was. It was on I think it was on Saturday, 2 days already. And
Mhm,
that's what I love about movies, all the fans just connecting together and especially
mhm,
the theaters, which sad because I watched 3 new movies during the
mhm,
theatrical like, after the pandemic, which New
mhm.
Mutants, Tenet, Wonder Woman 84, and I'm telling you, seeing less people just sucks, especially for
Do
Wonder
you
Woman
recommend the
84.
Tenant?
Oh, yeah, Tenet is really good.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've been like, should I watch it? I
Yeah,
heard it has
I
to do with
recommend it.
time.
It is very confusing. That like even I, someone who loves time travel and that kind of stuff. Well, there's no time travel, but that time manipulation kind of movies. Even I
Mhm.
like left confused, which is one problem I have with the movie. But I still think it's a good movie. I don't recommend New Mutants, and I don't recommend Wonder Woman 84.
I actually watched that, and I was like,
New Mutants.
yeah, I
Wait,
watched it. I'm like,
what about Wonder Woman
I
84?
mean, I watched it too. I
Did you
have
like it?
mixed feelings. I felt like it was okay, but I didn't get what they were doing. Like, I think this is just like me being used to the whole Marvel's Marvel's layout, but I'm like, how did this doesn't help the storyline that they've already created. Like this kind of like almost retcons some of the
Yeah.
stuff that's already happened in the story.
I'm not gonna lie. Uh, you follow me on Snapchat and Instagram, so you know how it was. But, uh, by the way, follow me on Instagram. I'm about to put it up here, but um, Wonder Woman 84, when the trailers came out, I was like, yo, it looks like it's gonna be a great film. I'm gonna have a fun time. And especially me, Wonder Woman, surprisingly, to me, is the second best DCU movie, or to me. A lot of people get surprised about that, but Wonder Woman to me is just such a great movie. And I said, if 84 is even nearly as good as that movie, I'm gonna love it. And I was so hyped that when I went to go watch The Dark Knight back in October, yes, I watched it in theaters for the first time, so that was great. I bought this Wonder Woman bucket, and even though I still love it because it's still pretty cool, um, uh, even though I like it, the film. I remember when I first watched it, I was kind of in denial. I was like, okay, so I think it's an okay movie, but the more and more I thought about it, I was like, I'm sorry. Patty Jenkins, I'm one of the biggest fans of Patty Jenkins as a director. I love Gal Gadot and I
Mhm.
love Chris Pine. And surprisingly, I really liked what was the actress for it doesn't matter. Cheetah. And I
I've
really
seen
love
her in
Pedro
other
Pascal.
movies.
Yeah, I forgot what was her name, but I also loved Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord.
Like,
This
I
film
feel
just
like
disappointed me.
overall the acting was great, and like it was just the disappointing. I don't know. Like, I feel like every actor did their job good, but it was more like it wasn't. It was just the story that was
and,
like iffy.
And it's funny because even though I have HBO Max and I could have watched it for basically free, I was like, "Nah, this movie needs a
I want to
theatrical
see this in
experience."
deep.
Yeah, I went to go watch it, and I'm like, "Dang, I didn't." I mean, I'm so glad I went to the theaters because I love going to the theaters regardless. But I was like, "Dang," and I watched it on Christmas too. uh, Wonder Woman 84. I was like, "Dang," it's like, I was hesitating on giving it, and I remember the first 40 minutes of the movie, I did not like Wonder Woman. I did not like
Mhm.
Diana for the first 40 minutes because they made her seem like this cocky, egotistical, like nobody like she doesn't like talking to anyone. And I was like, "This isn't a good
Like
way
to
to make me care
like
about a
like
character."
almost like to herself.
Yeah,
You
like, I
know,
understand her being kind of
not
isolated.
thinking about everybody.
Yeah, and I understand this movie was trying to go with that 80s vibe, but the problem with that is you gave us in first Wonder Woman a very grounded, realistic take, and when that movie succeeded beyond expectations in box office and critically, what's the point of changing that when that's what people like? Like, I understand why they did it for Thor Ragnarok because Dark World and the first story didn't do that well financially and critically. And I understand why they changed it in Ragnarok, and that turned out to be the best thing for it. But
Mhm.
Wonder Man 84, I felt like I remember leaving the theater thinking, why are you
What
changing
did
the
I just
tone?
watch?
It's like, why change the tone if that's the reason why the first movie is so successful was the tone? But
Mhm.
yeah. Anyways, I think we're gonna have to end this. It's been 2 hours, but yeah, thank you, Ethan, for joining
No
me in
problem.
this call. But yeah, I'll try inviting you next time, man. It's great to
Of
see you.
course.
And when you come to Texas, we gotta do something
We
together.
gotta do something together. Yeah.
All right. So
All
thank
right,
you
but
all for being here.
before I
And
go,
yeah. Oh wait, let me put a
please, you know,
uh yeah, there we go.
yeah, please subscribe to my channel and follow me on my Instagram. I actually, I'm just gonna put it up right here. I lost my pen. You know, uh, just put my name. Actually, it's just
Oh yeah, I
Ethan.
think I can
Just
put it
just put
here.
my name.
Uh wait, what was your Instagram account? Uh Let me quickly see. I gotta search.
It's this is funny. Uh, Skulls Inc.
I think I can put it real quick.
Or
Wait,
no,
hold
all
on.
that's it's not that anymore. Actually,
It was like Ebo Lots, I think, or
yeah,
something like that. It should be here somewhere.
but
Uh,
yeah, follow me.
okay, there we go. It's Ebo that
Underscore.
Lots. Okay, I put it in. There we go.
This is cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
I need
I
to
like
figure
doing
this
this.
stuff out.
Yeah, it's really fun. But yeah, thank you for
But
being
yeah,
here, and that's
I'm
gonna be it.
I was glad to be here.
I really need to go pee real quick. So yeah,